Right guys, hello. So Asgard's Wrath with the Rift S. Now I wanted to do this video to help people out that have older PCs, specifically quad-core i5s. So I see this asked a lot. People are concerned that they shouldn't get the game, they don't think their PC's up to spec, or worse still, they don't get a VR headset because they don't think their PC's good enough. Now, I mean no disrespect, but a lot of the YouTubers that do VR, they say or do nothing that really instills me with any confidence that they actually really know a lot about computers. They might have a very nice PC, which is great for them, but it only perpetuates the myth that you need a really expensive computer for VR, which isn't true. So I understand the confusion. There's all sorts of different games, all have different recommended specs, and people that aren't into computers wouldn't understand what all the different parts are and how they compare. So when people ask YouTubers, is their PC good enough for VR, you'll commonly hear, run the Steam VR performance test. It will give you an idea. Well, it will give you an idea. If you've got an i5K, you'll pass the test. We've got quad core or 6 cores. But the test itself will tell you that it doesn't take some CPU tasks into account, like positional tracking. So that's not really a proper test, is it? So what we want to do is actually play the game and judge the performance from that. So Asgard's Wrath looks to be quite demanding on paper. It recommends an i7 7700. It wants 16 gig of RAM and a GTX 1080 graphics card, recommended spec. Well, I can tell you now, I don't have that. I've got an i7, but it's a 2600K. Legendary CPU. It's got to be 8 years old now. I've overclocked it to 4.5 gigahertz, but let's be honest guys, those of you who've got an i5K, you should have already done an overclock to try and keep your CPU relevant today. I've got 12 gig of RAM, a DDR3, so more than 8, but less than the 16 that's recommended. And for the graphics card, I have a GTX 980 Ti, so very good graphics card 4 years ago. Still kind of relevant today, but it still falls short of the 1080. So to try and help you guys out that have the i5, I've tried to simulate that experience. So my i7 is usually 4 cores, 8 threads, but by disabling hyperthreading, I'm now 4 cores, 4 threads like the i5. So I'm trying to emulate having a 2500K. Now it's not really an apples to apples comparison because my i7 has more cache than an i5. So what's cache? Well, it's really fast memory built into the CPU. So what does that do? Well, in your memory, the RAM, data that's frequently being used a lot, I think, well, if we copy that into the cache, the cache is faster. That will help with performance. So I think an i5 has 6 mega cache and I've got 8. So it's not like a massive difference. Hopefully this is of some use to some of you. This is the closest I can get to emulating an i5. So let's go into settings, so you can see what I'm working with. Got graphics quality, so it goes low, medium, high, and then epic. So I've set it to high. We can't tweak shadows or any other settings within the GUI. We've got resolution. I've maxed that out, and that's really all there is to it, unless you want to use the Oculus Tray tool and start tinkering with super sampling. Got all the comfort settings there. Adjust those, you know, on a personal basis, whatever suits you best. So yeah, I've tried epic. It does help with the textures. They do look better. The effects look better. Reflections are better. But I get assets, you know, loading in and stuttering. It's not a good experience. So high is really the max I can go and get a decent experience on my setup. So what I want to do, we're going to play through the game a bit. Now I've played it 4 cores, 8 threads. I'm now going to do it 4 cores, 4 threads and see if I can actually notice any real difference. I want to try and keep it to the start of the game because I don't want to give away too many spoilers, although you've already seen a companion you don't get till later, and I've got a few weapons that come later in the game. But let's show this stuff off anyway because it's interesting to see. The axe is a lot of fun, especially if you get a headshot with a head clean off. So you feel very much like Thor in the Marvel movies, throwing your hammer around. It's very cool. It does damage on the return as well, so it's a bit like a boomerang. A lot of fun using that. Turtle's hiding from me. So yeah, we see the emblem up in the sky. That's telling me the God Altar has been activated. I can hold Y, change my form into God mode. I can look down. So I can pick the companion up. Sometimes they need relocating as part of the puzzles. It's kind of cool to see through the headset. There are puzzles in the game. It's a nice change of pace. I wouldn't say anything's really too taxing on your brain. So I can see, well, that looks like part of that bridge. Perhaps I should put that over there to help my hero on their quest. So this is the God mode, and it's still working perfectly fine. See the sail flapping around in the breeze. So let's go back into God mode. You want some love, do you? There you go. Let's got some more enemies spawning in. You do have to wait for the enemies to come out of the ground before we can do any damage to them.
Is that all you've got for me?
Cut him down the middle.
I will salt the earth.
That was Oculus telling me I've just earned more stuff for my home, if you saw a slight stutter. So yeah, I can understand why you guys might be concerned if you've got an i5, because there's some flat games like Battlefield that are really CPU intensive, but I honestly really can't tell any difference between me simulating an i5 and as I was running it as a true i7. Oh, she's not interested in the fish. So yeah, understand the concern. So things are looking good. Obviously, if you wanted to get an i7, I wouldn't blame you for these other games, but for VR, we seem to be doing fine. But I do want to talk about storage. The game is quite big, a 70 gig download, 120 gig when all is said and done, and it's extracted and installed. So I had it on a mechanical drive, and load times are a thing. There's a lot of loading, and it got really frustrating on mechanical drive, so I've moved it off to a solid state drive. So those of you thinking of doing an upgrade, maybe buy one of those rather than try and get a second-hand i7. I leave it up to you. But let's talk about the graphics cards a little bit. It's recommending the 1080, and I assume it does that to get the epic graphic settings, to get that quality. So my 980 Ti, a modern equivalent would be a 1660 Ti. That's a £250 graphics card. So last generation, a 1070 Ti, something like that. So you can tell by its name that is not a 1080. Many of you might have a 1060. That was a very popular graphics card last generation. So there's a guy called Paradise Decay. He does all of his VR videos with a 1060. Now he's done Asgard's Wrath. He played it on low. I think he does all the games on low. He says that's what it defaults to. That's what he plays. And that really doesn't surprise me. I don't see the 1060 as being a 1440p gaming graphics card. So yeah, you should be aware the Rift S is 2560 by 1440. The display 80 Hertz, wants 80 frames per second, and I don't really think the 1060's well suited to that. So there's new graphics cards due out soon, a 1650 Super, a 1660 Super. So once these come out, watch the YouTube reviews, look at the benchmarks, look at the 1440p results. Keep in mind they do it on ultra, that's worst case. So if you did it on high or medium, you're going to get more frames per second. And look how close it can get to 80 frames per second, the card that's in your budget. So yeah, those of you that have got, say, a 2500K or a 3570K, your Sandy Bridge, Ivy Bridge, and you'd like to do like a stopgap upgrade, my 2600K, they go really cheap now on eBay, like £60, £70, something like that. So that would be a straight swap for you guys. If you've got a Z series motherboard, you can do the overclocking, and that could tide you over for a little bit. Now the 3770K, that's going to be £120, £130 second hand, and that's double the price, and you're not going to get double the performance. So it's not really a clever use of your money, is it? But yeah, I think the 2600K still got some life in it, maybe another year or two before I'd have to really seriously consider about upgrading. So just put that out there, give you guys an idea. My 980 Ti graphics card, that's probably worth, I don't know, £150 second hand. I wouldn't want to pay more than that. It's 4 years old. It's not going to have a warranty. But yeah, if we add that up, so 150 plus the 60, 210, that's still less than a 1660 Ti new, and we've got money left over to buy this game. So those of you that like to do things on a budget, buy stuff secondhand, look for bargains, just be aware what you can get for your money. Someone might say buy a 1070. It's similar performance, uses less power. Whatever. Do whatever suits you. It's just to give you guys an idea. This is all stuff that's in the same ballpark. You're going to get a similar experience, similar performance. So we mentioned Paradise Decay. I really quite like his channel because he does use the 1060. He does use quite a modest PC. So he's got an i7. He's got the 3770. That's Ivy Bridge. Now he says it's old and he says it's still a good CPU. Now I get his point because it's still working for him, but it's not as good as my 2600K. Some of you might wonder, why would you want to have a K processor? Well, it's unlocked. If you've got a Z series motherboard, you can really push it and get the most potential out of it. So I've gone to 4.5 gigahertz on all of the cores. Paradise Decay, because his is locked, if you're stressing a couple of cores, it might go up to like 4.1 gigahertz, which is still short of what I get. If it's all of the cores being stressed, it might be more like 3.8 gigahertz, which is a lot less. Now, this clock speed can really matter when you're doing simulators, flight sims, driving games, is trying to calculate all the physics. So you'll hear about IPC, instructions per cycle, instructions per clock. These improvements happen over time. So if it was clock for clock, if it was a 3770K against my 2600K, they're both 4.5 gigahertz, then the Ivy Bridge wins out. But this is just to help you guys understand the difference in parts. So get like a 4790K, still 4 cores, still 8 threads, but those slight improvement gains. So I've got a really old i7, but as you get to the more modern stuff like a 8700K, so now that's 6 cores, 12 threads, it's got those IPC gains, and you've got a clock speed advantage. They can get up to like 5 gigahertz. So yeah, I don't blame people for wanting to upgrade, but those of you that have something similar to me and you're on the fence about VR, like it's £400 for the headset, I'd say go for the headset first. You can enjoy the experience and then worry about the upgrades later. I always look at upgrades as do it when you feel the need. So for me to do an 8700K upgrade, that's £350 for the CPU. I've already got some heat sinks, coolers lying around. 80 quid for the RAM, need some DDR4 RAM. 16 gig, 3200 megahertz, that's going to cost me what, 70 to 80 pound. Then I need a Z series motherboard, that's going to be 100 pound or more. So wave goodbye to 500 pound, which I could have just spent on the headset. I think that would have made more sense. Changing the graphics card, could I have done that? Well, my 980 Ti was doing perfectly fine. I've got a 1080p monitor, 60 hertz, 32 inch. The 980 Ti walks it. It's only now that I've got the headset I need to think, well, do I really want to improve it so I can do super sampling and render the games at a higher resolution so it looks better through the headset? But yeah, no, until I had the headset, just no real need to do that. But if I wanted to, what would be better than what I got? Well, a 2060 would be better. Not a great deal better, so it kind of gets referred to as a side grade. So that's a £300 graphics card. Okay, I might get £150 back for my graphics card, but that's still 150 quid I've parted with, and the increase doesn't really warrant that cost, hence being a side grade. So 2060 Super, what would that be? £400. Again, that's Rift S money. Okay, I could sell my graphics card, but again, it's not really worth spending out until I got the headset. So I think I can wait for Intel to do their next generation of CPUs. From what I'm hearing, the 10th gen Hyperthreading is coming back in a big way. The i3s will have it, the i5s will have it, so it'll be 6 cores, 12 threads. i7s will have it, 8 cores, 16 threads. So for me, it makes sense to wait out. There's no urgent rush. If I want to go the Ryzen route, that probably work out a bit cheaper. I'm not biased towards Intel, but it does tend to be a bit better for gaming and emulation, the stuff I like to do. Same for graphics cards. I could wait for NVIDIA's 3000 series. I like to use NVIDIA stuff because of emulation. I get my computer to pretend to be a Wii U and all these systems I've owned in the past. So yeah, just so you guys are aware. So yeah, we seem to be doing well. Let's go into the God mode, have a look around. You can see some of these puzzles. I had to pull this chain to open the door up. So yeah, I will wait it out. I had my brother around over the weekend and he said, okay, you've sold it to me, PC gaming. He's not going to get a PlayStation 5. But if you saw what the YouTubers are using, he'd feel priced out automatically. 9900Ks at £500 for the CPU, 2080 Ti's, £1,000 for the graphics card. Never mind the £400 for the headset. So his dreams would be squashed before he even got started. But as you see, you don't really need to spend crazy money to enjoy VR. So I will more than likely hand this system down to him. He'll have to buy his own headset. That should help him out. And I can enjoy my simulators with a better processor. So another game I want to get is Stormland. That comes out 14th, 15th of November, something like that. Now, the recommended specs for that are a little bit lower. It says a 4790 i7 and it wants a 980. So a 980 is more on par with like a 1060. So if my theory is true and recommended specs are to max the game out, we'll see. I should easily be able to max out Stormlands. We'll see how that pans out. So I don't think there's much else to talk about, guys. Hopefully this has helped you out, trying to see how an i5 might perform. And I'll see you when I see you next. Ciao for now.